This is Cases, Sizzling 99.9, where the MSP comes alive.
Talking baseball in Minnesota. Ernie Allen and Molotov. Krellick had a no-hit game. Kirby Puckett, what a shame. Heisel, Herbie, G-Man had their day. We love to watch them play.
Hey guys, we're back here on Talking Twins on KSIC Sizzling 99.9. It's Wednesday afternoon at 5 p.m. and it's time again for Talking Twins. That week went quick, Darrell, and we're back already. And this week we're gonna have some fun. We've got Larry Ward, voice of the Chattanooga Lookouts.
What a character. 27 years of experience here.
This guy's going to be fun. So you guys, stick with us after we get through down on the farm, come back from the break, because he's going to be a lot of fun during Twins Chat.
You guys are going to love him.
Exactly. And a couple big things. I'm going to do a little housekeeping before we get into our announcements. We just want to make sure everybody knows, hey, if you guys want to find us out on the web, please come check us out at TalkingTwinsBaseball.com. Hit us up on Facebook, too, out at Facebook.com/TalkingTwins. Or if you want to shoot us a tweet, you can certainly do that at Talking Twins. And even check us out. We've got a YouTube channel now. If you go out to YouTube and just search Talking Twins, you'll actually find our video channel. And then we're on Instagram as well at Talking Twins Baseball. So, and then, of course, one other thing which we'll throw out there more in the coming weeks, we're looking at starting a trivia contest for you guys, ways that we can get you guys engaged more in the show. We're going to have giveaways, prizes for getting the trivia questions obviously correct. And with that, we're going to let you guys know as well. Hit us up at talkingtwins@icloud.com if you've got ideas for things you'd like to see in the show as well. But that's one of the things we're going to do starting the next couple of weeks is get you guys in on this trivia contest. And Darrell obviously wants to talk about that a little more.
I was just going to say, guarantee next week we're going to have our first one because I've already got something in mind. So it's just going to be a trivia question. You guys answer it. Whoever gets it right, obviously, then the prize comes.
So next week, guys,
we'll nail it next time.
We'll give you that first question next week, and then we'll let you know what the prize is, and you guys will have the the chance to go at it. So with that, guys,
there's some big news though going on. I know we're doing Down the Farm, but I guess we should probably talk about some big news.
Yeah, breaking news. We definitely got to break this one before we get down on the farm because this one's fun for Twins fans, young and old.
You gotta love it.
Number 48 is back. That's right. It was finalized today. The press conference was today. Darrell's going to give us a little insight on that press conference in just a moment, but I just want to say 1 year, 10.5, 48's back. And Darrell, with that, talk about that press conference today.
Well, obviously I wasn't there. I was in the car on the way over to the station here, but it was fantastic. I mean, one of the reasons we wanted Torrey Hunter, and I was really excited to have him back, not just because he's one of us, he played 11 seasons with the Twins organization, but we need a right fielder.
Yes, we do.
It's a need. It's not as much of a need as starting pitcher, but it's definitely a need. So he's going to play right. Terry Ryan said emphatically he's right field. Now, if you look over the last 3 years, he's played no less than 140, 142 games. And that's about what we're going to expect. So, he'll play right. We'll leave center right now, unbeknownst to us right now. I'm going to say Jordan Schaefer because he was...
Yeah, we talked about that actually off air a little bit before the show, and we kind of agree it's Schaefer right now. But like you said, it's a mix.
Hicks makes the team.
It's a mixed bag. Yeah, it is.
And then you got Arcia. He'll play left. He's got that cannon of an arm. He's probably better suited right, but this is what Terry Ryan wants. I'm going to trust him. His press conference was phenomenal. I mean, you got to hear Terry Ryan. He welcomed him. He got him his jersey. And then you heard Paul Molitor talking about him because he actually played with him a couple times. It wasn't long, but they had a little crossover. So they got to talk about that. And then it was just funny because you heard the energy in him. And, a couple of questions, and one I really loved is that, he was offered a 1-year contract.
Yep.
And, well, did you have other offers? Obviously, we know he did. Texas, Baltimore, Seattle, they were all looking at him. How come you chose to come back here? And, well, one, he said emphatically he's not going anywhere else. This is it. It's a 1 year. He's happy to do it, and he doesn't care what happens next year, but he's staying here. If he's able to play, he's going to play, that tells me that he's going to make it work, and he wanted to be part of a winning organization. So then that prompted another reporter to ask, well, hey, we've just suffered multiple on top of multiple on top of multiple on top of multiple 90-plus lost seasons. Why do you consider it? How come you wouldn't want to go to a World Series contender? And he goes, you know what? Tell me who you think is going to win the World Series, and I guarantee you're wrong. And he's right.
He is right.
And then he followed up. He goes, did you pick the Giants? I bet you didn't. And, he had that charisma about him, that attitude that we need. And that's going to lead me into something else here in a second. But he's right, though. You never know who's going to win. He was with Detroit, and he pointed that out with help me out here. Miguel Cabrera,
Verlander,
Verlander.
But you're right.
And then he was in Anaheim.
And you mentioned a bigger piece there just for a quick second. I hate interrupting you, but I want to give you a plus on this. You mentioned that chip. It's a matter of him having that attitude when they're like, why did you come here? Like, well, now Torrey's going to have that attitude of like, oh, you think I made a wrong decision by coming here, huh?
Right.
I'm going to want to show you that you're making a fool of yourself.
And he basically did say that. He goes, watch out for us. And then he goes, you know what? Keep doubting us, because that's going to motivate us even more. I love
that. Exactly. And yeah,
So he was saying that, he was with, Anaheim that had these future Hall of Famers.
He talked about, Pujols and
Vladimir Guerrero.
Yeah.
Plus, don't forget they had Weaver.
Yeah, they had a good pitching staff too.
And so did Detroit, obviously.
Verlander,
they had a Hall of Fame pitching staff.
Scherzer, Porcello.
And what happened to them? Well, they didn't win the World Series, did they?
No.
It was always someone else. You never know. That's a great thing about baseball. You just don't know. And he's been scouting. Because he was asked about, what do you think about this young talent? And he brought up a game from last year where they were crushing us, unfortunately. But in the 8th inning, they came back. They grit, they fought, they came back, crawled their way back to tie it up. And as they're walking back to the dugout, he was with Cabrera and Verlander. Like, what the hell's going on? These guys just don't stop. That's the Twins' way.
That's how it is.
That's what he remembers. So he knows he's not going to change. He's not going to him signing isn't going to turn on the organization.
No, it's not.
Him signing is just a piece of it, and he knows that. But he's got the attitude. Another thing that brings up, we have someone now to be a clubhouse leader. If you remember, we talked to Jamie about this. Like, is there really? Because Joe Mauer, he's that quiet leader. He's not a clubhouse leader. B. Dozier, in my mind, he's probably a clubhouse leader, and he's a great person to have as a face of the franchise. And I can just picture it now, Brad. I mean, you got B. Dozier. You got Hunter, and you got Baby Jesus there, and those three are the face. But in the clubhouse, it's going to be Torrey Hunter.
Yeah, that veteran presence definitely will be felt. It'll be needed, and it will. I guarantee from the coaching staff, it'll be appreciated because it makes their job a little bit easier. Because some of the soundboard now is going to come through Paul down to Torrey.
He's a player coach.
You got it.
He's a player coach. You got Byron coming up in spring training. Guess whose locker is going to be right by Torrey Hunter, Brad?
Exactly.
It's going to be Byron.
And talking about coaches, you just led into the other quick piece of news that we've got to cover before down on the farm, and Darrell, throwing out the great leads there, and that's Butch Davis getting hired as the last coach for the Twins. Yeah, the first base coach. I mean, just look at that. Now we've got the filled out coaching staff. We can actually now just start worrying about the players in spring training.
And there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of analysis out there talking about the lack of major league coaching experience. You know what? I don't know. If you look at what they've done in the minors, they have experience. And Gene Glenn's got a lot of major league experience, by the way, both as first base and third base coach. And he's done an exceptional job in the AAA with the Twins. This definitely is not a Gardy team. We got two guys that are on the former team, not counting our skipper now. We got the smartest guy in baseball, in my opinion, and in a lot of people's opinion, and Paul Molitor as our skip. But I think we got a new culture. You got a culture that's going to actually utilize some of these analytics.
Agreed.
You're gonna have a little hybrid. They're not going to go to the extreme like maybe Texas does, but kind of utilize the analytics like Oakland, and also utilize your farm system, just everything. And I think culture is really a big part of baseball, and if you have a culture, it can overtake everything else.
I mean, 87 and 91 showed that for the Twins teams. I mean, there were teams that fought to come back from, worst to first. I mean, fought back from teams that were, 87, they were supposed to go out to Detroit and be a sacrificial lamb for that mighty Tigers team. And it shows you that perseverance and character can, amazing what situations they can get you through.
Well, and we're going to know a lot more next week, because next week is my favorite week of the year for baseball.
Yep.
It's the baseball. It's the winter meetings this year in San Diego. So next week we're going to see what kind of trades are possibly made.
We actually call it Darrell's early Christmas. That's the name of it.
It kind of is, or a birthday present. Either way,
yeah.
In December.
Exactly.
I'm looking forward to it. And a couple years ago, you guys remember that's when we made the move for both May and Meyer.
Exactly.
And they're within 2 days apart, so it could happen.
And with that, guys, that's our breaking news. We're gonna wrap up this week, and we're gonna now go into our Down on the Farm segment as we normally would start. And this week we're gonna have a little fun with Down on the Farm, because now that obviously the AFL's done, all the minor leagues pretty much are done. You've got a few guys, in the fall and the winter leagues. We'll cover that in future weeks, but we're gonna have a little fun this week because we're gonna do our top 5 worst Twins draft picks.
All
And
time.
We have 6 guys in this list.
And I could have put Aaron Hicks as 7, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because he did get cut. So we'll throw that out there. He did get cut from the Margaritas after going 1 for 30.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. We'll see how he does in spring training before I put him on my list, though.
I didn't even know you could get cut from the Venezuelan or the Mexican leagues. I didn't even know that happened. I mean,
so we'll see how he does. Anyway,
let's get to those top 5 worst picks.
I got. So my first guy here, Brad, is a right-hand pitcher, Tim Belcher. He was a number 1 overall in 1983. This is going to be a recurring theme for my list. Now, Belcher refused to sign with the Twins. A lot of it because, well, we lost 102 games in 82.
They were the Twins were not a very good ball
They
club.
were not a very good. But he ended up, though, having a 29.2 WAR in the end. But we couldn't sign him. He ended up going number 1 overall again to the Yankees. But that was our pick, and he didn't even sign with us.
Well, and he didn't even stay there very long. Tim Belcher is the majority of his career where he made his hay was with the Dodgers, actually.
That's right.
So yeah, great. The Dodgers haunt us again. That's nice.
Yes, that's great. But that's a big one because it's a number 1 overall pick. I mean, you got to nail that.
You do have to nail that. I agree.
All right, so the other one I got is another pitcher.
Yeah, number 2.
It's a left-handed pitcher, Ryan Mills. He was number 6 overall, 1998. Now, if you remember in the 90s, it was rough.
It was rough.
It was rough.
It was rough.
We were waiting until that 2001-2 season when we really started hitting it hard. But he was a tall, projectable frame who had control issues even in college, and yet they were dead on him. They thought he was the best prospect, and he never made it past AAA.
Yeah, I was gonna say he got to AAA, and that was it. He still had control issues this whole time.
Yeah,
they always
never ever made it to the majors, not even a spot start.
No, I remember him. They always thought he was going to be this big, tall kid that was just going to, that with that tall frame would have that long, delivery and that fast. And he never had basically any of the things that they thought he was going to have. And it's like, who scouted this? I mean,
well,
really.
and you got to look at it, and obviously a lot of things have changed back, since then. But yeah, that was a swing and a miss there, literally.
Number 3 on the list is not worst pick because it was a bad pick. To me, it's more worst pick because of how we handled the situation.
Well, and he was my. That's why I have 6 on here, because he was kind of that question. Well, do I count it or not? But go ahead.
Well, that's Jason Varitek, and I mean Jason Varitek, as most baseball fans know, was a darn good catcher. I mean, there's no problems in making that pick. The problem was, again, like Belcher, was another guy that the Twins could not get signed to a piece of paper. They could not get him on a contract. Now, if you look, he was drafted the same year that the guy we just talked about that's back home, Torrey Hunter. Now, imagine if you'd have had Varitek and Torrey Hunter as your core, and as Darrell mentions in our notes, talking about what that would have did for Przinsky. Well, that's fine to me. They could have then used that resource to go, sign other players, and it wouldn't have mattered. So that would have been. I would have loved to have, and Jason Varitek too. Most guys that played with him will tell you, he will. If you're loyal, I mean, I've seen fights. I remember one fight where, in fact, he punched it was either Derek Jeter or Alex Rodriguez when the Red Sox and the Yankees got into a brawl.
Well, that doesn't surprise me because it's Red Sox and Yankees.
But Varitek was that kind of guy that players always said that he's got your back.
He was kind of like an AJ Przinsky, really. I mean, I was at a game between the Cubs and the White Sox, and something started. And AJ just won and knocked him right out because he said something bad about his teammate. And those are those two players. But yeah, he was the guy that they tried to draft, and they obviously didn't scout him well enough.
No, at third base, I mean, we really can't talk too much about Mike Sodders because I'll be quite blank. There's not really.
Well, you don't really have anything to talk about.
No,
they drafted him. He spent 3 seasons. He didn't make it past AA. Done. I mean, it's a wasted pick.
Hopefully we don't do that with guys to Larry Ward this year that we send down there and they never get past AA.
Well, hopefully with Larry Ward, they're there and then in the majors right away.
Well, I can tell you if they're not motivated when they get down there, Larry's going to definitely have them ready to go just himself. So they'll bring him down to the clubhouse before.
How about Tim Shipley, though? Here's a shortstop.
Ted Shipley was an interesting one.
Yeah, excuse me, Ted Shipley.
Yep.
Now, they had a plethora of picks there this year, and they all were horrible. He was just the worst of the bunch.
Well, yeah, you look at all those shortstops that they drafted between 65 with Eddie Leon, and then who stumped the Twins, went to college, and then they never got him, didn't sign again. But he drafted him a couple years later. But they had like Bob Gorinsky, Dale Soderholm. I mean, these were guys that were Lenny Faedo. I mean, Lenny Fado, I remember, was supposed to be like one of the coming, like he was going to be the next of the shortstops of the greatness. And these
There's
guys,
a reason why we had 102 losses in '82.
Well,
because in the '70s they couldn't pick anything.
Exactly, and through the late '70s that kind of started happening, and then exactly with the struggling picks there. I mean, they never did find a real good shortstop in that span, and obviously Shipley was right onto it. If you look at it, not one of these guys. It was 5 shortstops drafted.
Not one of them made it to majors. And, I added that to our notes just because I thought that was a really interesting piece.
I think it's huge.
It was really, I just had to, pick one. Just, okay, who do I want to pick to name as the worst? And, well, because he was the highest overall draft pick, Ted Shipley, because he was number 14 overall in '74, but none of them made it to the bigs. I mean, that's not good prospecting.
No, and that's a huge thing to point, as you pointed out, because when you're looking at that's over 5, 6, 7, 8 years, you're striking out again and again. That position that is weak.
You strike out every year. I mean, you set yourself back 2 to 3 years
at that position, exactly.
And then that one position eludes you, unless you're the Yankees or Boston and you just go out and buy your talent. I mean, what is it?
Well, if you look at shortstop, they didn't really fix that position until they got Roy Smalley.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
In 83, if I'm not 84, I mean the first. That was a long time.
Legitimate shortstop.
That was a long time, and then of course Gagne for the run.
And he took us there for.
But that's a long
decade.
time from starting to draft guys in 65 and not really getting a shortstop that makes a serious bounce until
And it's such a crucial position. I
It
mean,
is.
that's why I was so excited about this year's draft. With Nick Gordon.
You hear
They can't miss prospect. Now we'll see. It could be. I mean, we're talking about all these guys we're talking about here. They were can't miss prospects. They all missed.
One year GMs always talk about you build your defense of a baseball team up the middle. It's catcher,
Exactly.
it's second base, shortstop, and it's your center fielder. I mean, everything fans out from those places. It's exactly true. And let's get to, in talking about outfield, let's get to the outfield.
And the only outfielder I put on here was B.J. Garb.
But that was a pretty big one because he was number 5 overall in '99.
Number 5 overall. And they drafted really good in the 90s because if you remember, it was that all those guys that were drafted in the 90s that came up in 2001 and 2, and that includes Torrey Hunter, Corey Koski. I mean, all these stud guys.
A lot of good players.
The reason why we had that decade of dominance, well, BJ was a swing and a miss, though. He was supposed to be that other big bat, power hitter. Instead, he spent 6 years in the minors and didn't contribute to the bigs.
Yeah, that's kind of rough right there, and that's a spot we're in right now. We're in looking at some of these guys. We need to come up. We won't have the time for outfielders to figure it out for 6 years, and Aaron Hicks is kind of a great example of that.
Well, and that was the other, and the reason why we wanted to do this, to have some fun with it.
Certainly.
But it is the question about Aaron Hicks and where he's at in his development. I mean, 2 years ago, he impressed every single analyst, every Twins fan because of what he did in spring training, what he did in high A and double A, and then he can't hit the ball, and it seems like he doesn't have it upstairs. He's got all the tools, but he doesn't have it upstairs. It's a mental game for him, and I don't know if that's something they're going to be able to fix.
I'm not sure either, and I think when you go down to the Mexican and Venezuelan leagues and you're not hitting any better down there, I don't know at this point. I think it's mental, but I think it's mental beyond what the Twins coaching staff is going to be able to fix. And honestly, I don't know if Paul Muller has anybody that can spend that kind of time with him either.
Well, and you bring back Hunter, you got Eddie Rosario. You've got Jordan Schaefer. Let's assume that they bring him back. You got Arcia.
Torrey's going to have another mentor opportunities going on, number one.
Yeah, he's going to be a busy guy.
Yeah.
He's got to play ball and do everything else, but he's going to be pretty busy. And that's good. I'm glad he's up to that challenge. But I don't know what you do with Hicks. I mean, he's a great defensive outfielder, but I don't know what he's going to do. I can't just say he makes a team out of... No. Out of necessity.
Nope.
There's no way that happens. I can't see that happen.
That stuff has to stop, number one. That's kind of where the organization has got themselves off in a little bad track for a while. No more, you were kind of the leader. No.
But with the injury of to Byron Buxton, who is obviously the heir apparent to the center, he's going to be their center fielder. He's going to be the center fielder of the decade.
Molitor can let other guys win the job. Schaefer can win that job for a little while. There are other guys in this team at least that can try to go, win that job.
Schaefer's got something to prove too.
He does.
Atlanta treated him just like he was nothing and just
Poorly.
let him go.
Yeah.
And we've got him for just about nothing, and he's going to cost us, I believe, it's about $1.5 million.
Yep.
In there. And if he plays like he did when he was with us last year towards the end of the middle to the season,
it's a bargain.
We'll take that in a heartbeat.
It's a bargain.
He's got the speed. He's a great defensive outfielder.
He's a 3 outfield spot, so if you got guys need a night off, if Torrey needs a night off, if Garcia needs a night off, the nice thing about Schaefer is you can plug him anywhere. You know?
Absolutely. And I know that they don't want to play Danny Santana in the outfield, but there might come a time where they have to.
Yep.
But they got guys that are ready to go and to come up. And I think the first one, and then it'll depend. We'll know next week. It's going to be what happens with any trades.
Yeah, exactly.
Is Rosario going to come up because he seems like he's ready for the big league challenge, or is he going to get traded for a pitching prospect?
Yeah, because that'll obviously help to finalize a lot of things too. I mean, if you see him get another outfielder, or if you see Rosario leave, right, we can obviously start to, those Legos, those building blocks will start falling into place most definitely.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, next week's going to be is going to be pretty huge because that's definitely going to that's going to lead a lot of things. We're going to find out if Terry goes after another starter.
Well, and he said it. He was at an interview he had held an interview a couple days ago, and 3 times within it he mentioned trades and pitching on 3 different occasions, and we know that he's not scared to do it.
Just as long as it means trade to get, not give ours up, because we don't have a lot as it is. So.
And it's like we were talking about earlier, who would we give up for what? Like a Jordan Zimmerman type player. What is it worth to get someone that is a solid number 2 on your team? Maybe like an Eddie Rosario and a Gibby, a Kyle Gibson.
Yeah, exactly.
I would do that. As much as I love Kyle Gibson, when his slider's on, when his sinker's on, he's a stud, but when it's off, it's off. And I think Rosario, I think he's going to be a good talent, but I think he's a 4th outfielder at best. And because he can play second, he doesn't have the cannon arm. He doesn't have the power. He hits for average, but he'll be a great platoon player. So he does add a lot of value to a team, and he looks like he is MLB ready. So you put him with maybe a number 4 type pitcher to get a number 2 type pitcher, I think I would take that.
And most definitely, and that's something we'll definitely be talking to you guys with next week, and the following Wednesday after the the trades and all that really wrap up in the winter meetings. So definitely stick with Talking Twins because we're going to be covering this as it heats up a little more in the winter meetings after next week. Like I said, in the week after wraps up, we can cover a little more of that. And with that, guys, before we hit into the break here, just remember we come back from the break. We've got Larry Ward with us. We're going to continue the Voices of the Twins interview series this week, and Larry Ward from the Chattanooga Lookouts is going to join us. We're going to have a lot of fun with Larry as we talk Chattanooga Lookouts baseball, Minnesota Twins baseball, kind of just have some good fun talking with Larry. But remember, we've also got some shows later this evening yet here on KSIZ Sizzle on 99.9. So remember, at 6 o'clock, we've got the MSP Collective tonight. Laura's going to be bringing in Portrait of War, so get ready for that. At 7 o'clock, the Ring General Radio Hour is going to be on tonight, guys. The 3 count this week, best superstar returns and comebacks. It's going to be a blast, I guarantee it. Finally, at 9, Blingo with Shoes at TGI Fridays in Coon Rapids, guys. So with that, we'll be right back here on KSIC Sizzle on 99.9 for Larry Ward from the Chattanooga Lookouts on our Voices of the Twins interview series.
The sound of your own wheels drive you crazy. Lighten up while you still can. Don't even try to understand. Just find a place to make your stand. Take it easy. Well, I'm standing on a corner in Winslow, Arizona, and such a fine sight to see. It's a girl, my lord, in a flatbed me. Oh, we got it easy. We ought to take it easy.
Sizzling 99.9 KSIZ.
Hey, welcome back here, guys, on KSIZ, Sizzling 99.9, where MSP comes alive. We're back here on Talking's Twins, guys, and on Twins Chat this week, we continue the Voices of the Twins interview series. This week, we've got a special guest with us because it's also the brand new affiliate for the Twins, and that's the Chattanooga Lookouts. And joining us this week from the Lookouts is Larry Ward. And Larry, unlike the voice of the Twins, he literally is the voice of the Lookouts. And when I say that, the 2015 season, he laughs, but I'm going to date him because it marks the 27th season Larry's been doing Lookouts baseball. And since 1989,
It's been a while.
yeah, it's been a little while. And since '89, the voice, he's been telling the story of Lookouts baseball to, thousands of loyal listeners that they have all across the Tennessee Valley, and we're glad that they're now a part of the Twins family. We're going to have a lot of fun at that. And with that, Larry, hey, thanks very much for coming on Talking Twins tonight. Darrell and Bradley, we greatly appreciate it.
Well, thank you guys for the invitation. It's been a long run, 40 some odd years in broadcasting, and we're looking at 40, I don't know, somewhere around 4,200, 4,300 baseball games. So professional baseball games. So, Chattanooga has become home, whereas growing up in Eastern Oregon, it was one of those things where I met one of the most famous Twins ever in Army Killebrew many years ago. But that's a long story, and that might be for another time. I don't know.
Yeah, we never know. We'll see how we go. Maybe we get into it tonight. Maybe we don't. Harmon's one of my favorite Twins. So
he was awesome.
He was a classy guy. He just that was with him it wasn't just the fact that he could crush a baseball like swatting a fly. It was the fact that he did it with some of the most grace and just charm of any player I ever saw play baseball.
Absolutely. He was a class act all the way around.
Well, I got a question for you to start things off, Larry. You mentioned all the awesome years you've gotten, 40-some years calling games, over 4,000 games. So I guess I got to ask the question that a lot of Twins fans will probably want to know. How did you get started in the industry?
Well, totally by accident, as a matter of fact. Broadcasting in general, I was in the retail shoe business, and a friend at the time asked me if I wanted to go to work at a daytime radio station in Eastern Oregon, and I thought, you know what? After doing some charity work for the Lions Club and running the radio days, I fell in love with it. And when the opportunity came tapping at the door, I answered it. Now, many people will say, boy, did you make a mistake? And they're probably right. But 40-plus years later, I hadn't made a lot of money, but I've sure had a lot of fun and seen a lot of territory and country and world, and met some outstanding people. So, and a couple of ruffians along the way too. So it's been a good life.
Very nice indeed, Darrell.
Yeah, I got a question for you, Larry. And this is something I've been asking all of our play-by-play guys is, because I'm a really emotional person, whether I'm at the ballpark or just in front of my TV watching a game. It can be any game, whether it's a horrific play or a tremendous play. Calling the games over the last 27 years, how do you keep your emotions in check? Is it something that you got to practice, or do you lose it sometimes?
Well, as many of our listeners will tell you, he has a tendency to lose it sometimes. He does keep it in check. He does shed a tear. He does give it a laugh. He does once in a while get carried away with the umpires, even though many of them are great acquaintances of mine. I guess most people say, it's a little combination of everything. And the biggest thing is if I'm having a good time, and I put a smile on my voice, then the people are too. And if you like baseball, or if you love baseball, or you hate baseball, I don't care. I'm going to tell you like it is. If you were at the ballpark, what you see is what I'm going to say. In other words, if I see it, you're not there, I'm going to tell you what you're going to see if you were there. And that's the only way I know how to do it. It's the way that I learned many, many, many years ago. And I think the fans have been refreshed in knowing that if I say it, then you've seen it.
No, I love it, because if I'm not at the ballpark, the favorite thing, I grew up just listening to the games on the radio. And if you can paint the picture, like it sounds like you can do it. So I'm really excited to listen when the season starts up again. Over those last 26 years, I mean, you said that you met Harmon Killebrew, which is fantastic. He's one of my favorite Twins players of all time. Who's like the best prospect or player you've ever come across?
Oh, wow. I'm asked that all the time. And, I don't know. It started way, 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 way back when I was in Tucson, Arizona. I started in 78 part-time in Portland, Oregon, and then went to Tucson for 79 and 80 years. And gosh almighty, how do you keep them all straight? I mean, I don't know. I've seen so many different guys have great major league careers over the course of the years that I don't know if there's a favorite or if there's a best. You go from the era with the Dodgers that we just finished with in Chattanooga to the 21 years with the Reds. Then I had a couple of years, or 1 year with the Seattle Mariners in Chattanooga in 1985. And then the 3 years that I was in Jacksonville, Florida, with the Big Cat, and I mean, 79 and 80, there wasn't a lot of great people, but here's a name that in Danny Heap that everybody thought was going to be a Hall of Famer and didn't. It goes on. I mean, there's the Adam Dunns and Kearns and Sanders, Reggie Sanders, and gosh, I don't know. There's just so many to try to remember. And the older I get, the harder it gets to remember, and the harder it gets to remember, the more frustrated that you can become. I'll be honest with you. I've kind of taken it year by year now in the last 10 years, because if I don't, then I'll lose my place in the book where I'm supposed to be that night. So it's just one of those things where there are guys that I remember. Dan Wilson, who caught for us over at Engle Stadium for the Reds and then the Mariners. There was a little left-handed pitcher that pitched every day practically, it seemed, Rusty Kilgo, who never made it past AA baseball, who was just one outstanding individual. Aaron Boone. Pick one. It's just amazing what I've seen and the opportunity of getting to know people, and that's the biggest thing.
Well, I was going to say, Darrell, I'm going to come at it this way once. Instead of a player, Larry, what I want to ask is either past or present. Maybe either it's a guy that you modeled your career off of, or a guy that you like now that you hear that's a cohort of yours. Who would you say is one of your favorite, if not favorite, announcers out there? And I'm gonna I might have to throw out a wild card. You can't use Vin, because that's not fair. I mean, you got to have Vin as part of your organization for a lot of years. So,
well, I'll be honest with you. I knew Vin Scully before Vin Scully knew Vin Scully. I swear to God. I used to listen to him seriously when I was growing up in Eastern Oregon. You could pick up L.A. and you could pick up San Francisco with your radio. In the Northwest, because that's who you would hear. And quite frankly, I did emulate myself a little bit until and I've taught this for years. You start with a style of emulation, then you find your niche. And I've helped mold, I think, anyway, maybe they won't admit to it, but I've helped mold some guys to get out of emulating individuals. Be your own person. And but I will share this secret. I can't listen to Ben Scully do a ball game, because if I do, then the very next day I'm 10 minutes into emulating by accident more than anything else, and it drives me crazy and it drives listeners crazy as well. But there's just a lot of different people, and you know, Marty Brenneman is a friend of mine, and while I haven't been around Marty for a few years, we always used to share war stories about players and different things, and of course his son is now a broadcaster and has been for many years. My son does the same thing. In fact, he owns his own, interestingly enough, and ironically enough, his own internet radio station, and does a lot of high school sports in Payette, Idaho, the home of Harmon Killebrew.
Nice.
So there are a lot of tie-ins all the way around with Harmon, the Twins, and radio and broadcasting, etc.
Very nice. Very nice. Go ahead, Darrell.
Okay, Larry, this is probably going to be one of those loaded questions again, and I'll just throw it out there, see if you can come up with an answer. But in all these years of calling the games, is there a favorite baseball moment that you have, or maybe moments that you have?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 11 or 12 no-hitters. They all, whether they were 7 innings or whether they were 9 innings, they were all unbelievable. They finish with a first pitch, and then they finish in a flurry with the last pitch. Then the last pitch is the one, whether you are winning or losing, the last pitch is the one where you go, oh my gosh, what did I just see? What did I just call? What did I just do? And it's unbelievable how thrilling the moment is, whether you're on the winning side or the losing side, and that's the no-hitters. Whether it's a combination or because it's such a phenomenon in the game of baseball. Now, I've never done a perfect game, so I'm hoping that the talent coming from the Twins to Chattanooga will maybe produce that before the next 2 or 3 years are over with.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I can definitely get on board with that, because pitching is my favorite aspect of baseball. I absolutely love it. I adore it. And speaking of the talent coming up, I mean, you got some pretty decent talent. I don't know if you're real familiar with some of the guys that you're going to have, like Jose Berrios, one of my favorite prospects in the Twins organization, but he's rising quite fast. And you got Buxton and Sano. So are you pretty excited about seeing this young crop of kids come up?
Well, you know, I've seen some of the bios on. I mean, Berrios is he's scary. I mean, this kid, he may not even see AA. He's got. It sounds to me, and I looked at his stats last week, and I went, my gosh, this kid's got no business coming to Chattanooga. But more than likely, he will start here, and that's what he should do. But the great thing about it is, and you guys know as well as I do, you can come to a Chattanooga or the Southern League of AA baseball. You don't even have to go to AAA. It's not a waste of time, but it's not as learning as pitching or hitting right here at the AA level. This is where you get polished. This is where by the time, if you don't, after spending 2 or 3 or 4 years in A ball, this is the step that gets you to the big leagues. End of story. If you can't do it at the AA level, chances are pretty likely that you're going to spin your wheels at the AAA level and maybe get a cup of coffee or two at the major league level. But if you are outstanding here, you can and have a chance to be outstanding there. Now, that said, there's been some guys in the past who've gone straight from AA to the big leagues, but and not continued with the success and then worked their way back down and then back up. But at the same time, there's a lot of guys that are destined to be in the Hall of Fame that have gone right straight from the Southern League. And I'm not just talking about in Chattanooga. I'm talking about overall. This is a league where you face veteran pitchers as a hitter. As a pitcher, you face veteran hitters. As a fielder, you have to know exactly where you're supposed to be, just like they do in the big leagues. Yes, you're going to make mistakes, but the mistakes are fewer if you know exactly how to play the game, and this is where you learn it. And quite frankly, too, I think that the major league people are misguided. This is where you need to have your best teachers, your best instructors, and if you got to pay them $100,000 a year, they are going to build you a team that you're going to win the World Series with, if you'll listen to them. You know what I find interesting, fellas? I find interesting in this game, after 30 years in it, plus in it, that the people at this level, or the people who manage in the minor league level, are never listened to. It's really frustrating, not only for them, but for me to watch a valued manager or coach, pitching, hitting, running, whatever, and they are asked a question, and nobody listens to them. The guy at the top goes, "Oh no, wow, he's all wrong." Here's a good example. I'll give you a good example. The Reds said that Brady Clark could never play in the big leagues because he was too small. Guess what? Brady Clark made a hell of a career out of playing in the big leagues.
Yep.
I mean, you can go on. I can go on, example after example, of when people said, "Well, that guy can't play in the big leagues. He's too small. His arm isn't good enough." Yada 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 yada. Seems to me there was like a young man by the name of Tom Glavine that was kind of almost given up on, and then he learned how to pitch. You know what? You never give up. Never give up.
And Larry, I would say this then too. You guys are going to have a breath of fresh air because our A system is probably, if not the top 3 in the game, and this is where I lose my bias, we might be 1 or 2. And when I look at who's managing those 2 ball clubs, Joe Mauer's brother, Jake Mauer, and believe me, everybody in Cedar Rapids listens to Jake Mauer. It's almost like when Joe Paterno was big back then, and they used to say, kids, on this side of the mountain, Joe's God. Well, Jake Mauer is, and if there's any voice that's listened to more than Jake Mauer, it's probably the manager that was the Florida State League champion last year, and that's Doug Mankiewicz. I mean, this guy was battling Paul Molitor for a job up here in Minneapolis. I'm telling you, these 2 guys do get listened to, and these are 2 guys, Jake Mauer and Mankiewicz both, they maximize the talent out of players. They don't give up on anybody, but they push you. And the really neat thing in this organization is, if guys don't listen to those 2, they're usually not in this organization very long.
I was just going to say, then forget about it. They're not going to be there long.
They're gone.
But they're dealing with that right now in Aaron Hicks.
Yep.
Yeah. And the one thing that I've always been admired of an organization was the Twins organization, because when Tom Kelly can leave Orlando and end up in the big leagues and be successful, you've got something working. In other words, you're paying attention to people in the organization. Twins organization's been like that forever, for a long time.
And I don't think people give enough credit to Paul Molitor in that light either, because Paul's not just coming into this thing like, "Yay, I want a job." This is a guy that was a career 306 hitter and wanted to win every day he played.
Exactly.
No different now.
He's probably the smartest guy in baseball too.
Exactly. Yes.
It's going to be really interesting to see with his new now that his new staff is put together. There's not a whole lot of big league experience, so it's going to be really interesting to see how they gel together. But I think they'll do it as a culture and win that way.
I think that, and the great thing is too, they want the farm guys to become Minnesota Twins. Those are the guys they want to help them to win. And that aside, and I'm not saying that the Dodgers do it incorrectly, or the Giants, or the Reds, or whatever, but I think sometimes the curtain gets drawn on fresh ideas, and I think that they forget from whence they came from never forget where you came from. Never forget that you started off, your first baseball game was a Little League broadcast in the front seat of a van with a Marty unit on a daytime radio station.
Nice.
Never forget that. Never, ever, ever forget that. Never forget you worked some of the Reds Network and TV for that. And even though you've slipped up and not made it to the big leagues, it doesn't matter. Never forget where you came from. And never forget how you got to the point where you are and what has made your career.
Well, yeah.
To
No,
me,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Larry.
Needs to happen with the rest of it.
Well, exactly.
No, that's what needs to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, and you look at still, there's for every one of you guys that gets to call games, I mean, and people, I don't ever want to hear somebody say at the AA level. I'm sorry, these guys are still, you're still getting to be a professional broadcaster, and for every one of you, there's 5 of us that would claw somebody's eyes out at that same opportunity. So I agree with you. Well, I
think
hope
it's more like 500, isn't it?
I hope. Well, that are. I guess maybe that you'd want doing.
You know what? Seriously, you guys. You know what you guys need to do this summer? You need to come down, bring your show down to AT&T Field, and come on the air and do some play-by-play. That's what you need to do. What a great gig that would be.
Hey, Darrell, can we get to Chattanooga this summer?
Well, it's something we did talk about. So I mean,
we're not talking.
I think we got a couple wives that will actually. As long as they can come with to the warm weather, I think they're going to push us out.
We're not talking
about it. Out.
Yeah, we're not talking about it.
We'll figure it out. We'll get it done.
Yeah, my point. Exactly. My point was we're doing it. We're not talking about it. We're doing this.
Oh, believe me, that's one of my dreams is doing play-by-play.
We're doing this.
Hey, guys, we'll have a great time. You will enjoy my sidekick, Jim Reynolds. We'll have a good time. We'll figure it out. We'll get the logistics figured out. And I think it'll be a great promotion, first of all, for your show. You can do the show beforehand. Before the game, and in the booth, and then you can do some play-by-play and have a good time. And then when I call you from my boat on the lake to find out how it's going during that evening,
and we're all having a good time.
Exactly. No, I don't know.
We got the 45, 50-foot super yacht for Mr. Ward here. So while he's out there, well, wait, Larry. Will you be calling us, or will it be like the butler or the maid calling us, to give you the phone?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. No, listen, let me tell you something. Never mind. It's one of those things where you got to have fun, guys. You know that as well as I do.
You have to.
This baseball is America's pastime. I don't care what you say about how many kids play soccer. I don't care how many NFL fans or NBA fans there are. Baseball is America's pastime, and there is no way you can spend a summer evening or any evening and go to the ballpark, a dog and a beer, and sit and chat with your neighbor without 45 people interrupting you and jumping all over you and spilling on you and da-da-da-da-da-da. This is where it's at. It's in the game of baseball, and it's relaxing, it's neighborly, it's fun, it's exciting in its moments, like it's supposed to be, but it's like a conversation over the backyard fence, and that's what it's all about. And people have a tendency to forget all about that. And they
You're absolutely right.
It's American pastime.
It is. It's woven into the fabric. It's woven into the fabric of the country. And Darrell, I'll let you go ahead and ask the next question to Larry.
Actually, I covered everything I wanted to ask, Larry. I just wanted to say thank you for your time, and this has been absolutely fantastic. I don't know if Brad has anything else, but I'm ready to come on down and do some play-by-play.
I was going to say, I think Larry's going to have a couple of questions for us maybe and about the Twins, and I'd like to definitely answer anything he wants to talk about Twins-related too.
Well, I think the first thing is, can all these guys that we're going to get, first of all, can they hit a slider? Can they hit a curveball? I know they can hit a fastball. Can they hit a changeup? Can they hit a slurve?
Here's how I can answer that question for you. The young guys.
Can they throw it?
Well, the throwing apart we need bad. I mean, our major league pitching. I mean, we were second to last in the AL and ERA. Now, on the flip side, can they hit it? Well, this young club last year, including Kenny Vargas, including Danny Santana, with Dozier and with Mauer and these guys, last year in the second half of the season, number 2 in the American League in scoring runs. So the Twins' problem from July 1st on wasn't getting the guys to touch the plate. It was making sure that the guys in the other squad weren't touching the plate more, unfortunately. And we need Berrios, like you said. He's probably going to elevate quickly because if he pitches well in Chattanooga the first half of the year, you guys might not get to see him the second half. It might be it's a plane ticket to Minneapolis. We need arms bad up here. I mean, honestly, Larry, you could overhaul 2 to 3/5 of the staff. I mean, Phil Hughes has a job for sure. They have to keep Ricky Nolasco because they paid him a 4-year, $45 million deal, so you're not going to eat the money.
Correct.
Other than that, nobody else has assured themselves a starting job in that rotation.
Well, I think the biggest thing is when spring training comes around, there is always one or two, and you know this as well as I do, there are one or two who slip under the radar and make a big splash. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for lightning in a bottle, but you want that lightning to last for a 10 to 15-year period if at all possible. And when you get that, then you've got an organization and you've got a guy and treat them right. That's the key. And I think the Twins probably do that as well as anybody. Treat your players right. Treat them like you love them. And that's the key, so they'll be around forever. So they'll play.
That's what we're hoping for Cole Stewart, Alex Meyer, and J.O. Berrios. If we can get those three to rise quickly, we're going to be just fine.
You got it, man. You got it. All right, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys this summer. You got to come down.
Okay, well, here's what we'll do, Larry, is I'll get a hold of you in the spring before the season kicks off, and then at that point we'll go ahead and we'll set up a date that we'll have you come on down there and everything. Or we'll come down to you, I mean.
Very good.
Okay.
That sounds like and are you I may see you in spring training too.
Oh, we'd love to see you down there as well.
All right, very good. Very good.
Hey, that sounds like a plan. So, and with that, guys, we want to thank Larry Ward from the Chattanooga Lookouts for joining us tonight on Talking Twins, our Voices of the Twins interview series. And with that, Larry, hey, thanks very much, and have a good rest of the evening, and we'll catch up with you in the spring then.
All right, I look forward to seeing y'all. Take care, and so long from Chattanooga.
Thanks much,
Enjoy
Larry.
the warm weather.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, and guys, just remember here also on KSIZ tonight, we've got some good shows coming up tonight. We've got the MSP Collective here at 6 o'clock, just in a little bit here, with Portrait of War tonight. We've also got the Ring General Radio Hour. They're going to be on at 7. Those guys are getting crazy tonight because the 3 count is Best Superstar Returns and Comebacks. I mean, I don't know who they're going to talk about, but it's going to be interesting. And then at 9 o'clock, hey, Blingo with Shoes over at TGI Fridays up in Coon Rapids. So I know y'all will get down there as well. And guys, with that, I want to close out another edition of Talking Twins for Darrell Yates. This is Bradley Swanson. We again thank Larry Ward from the Chattanooga Lookouts for joining us. So long, guys. We'll talk to you next Wednesday at 5 o'clock here on KSIZ, Sizzling 99.9.
Talking baseball in Minnesota. Ernie Allen and Molotov. Krellick had a no-hit game. Kirby Puckett, what a shame. Heisel, Herbie, G-Man had their day. We love to watch them play.
Twitter @Dennis Blaze.
Come on. We just like a Sunday.
Sicker than your average. Pop a quick cabbage off